Welcome to the From Whistle to Whistle podcast on the Dynasty DNA podcasting network, where we debate the hottest NFL and Dynasty fantasy football topics every week. So sit back, pick a side, and enjoy the show. And here is your From Whistle to Whistle host and moderator, TJ Blake.
Welcome back, DNA Strand crew, to the newest episode of From Whistle to Whistle here on the Dynasty DNA podcasting network. I'm your host, TJ Blake. You can follow me over on X at FFTJBlakeDNA. And you know what? No blue corner tonight. Ty has the sore throat from hell. Post-Expo, Tessier can vouch for him, right? He was having a tough time the whole ride home. He soldiered through it, right? He greeted the fans, he kissed babies and shook hands. But you know what? None of them got sick, but only Ty got sick, right? He's got strep throat, so he won't be with us tonight. So let's just forget about the blue corner, right? We won't dock him points because, you know, medical emergencies won't constitute that. I'll let that pass. But we'll go over to the red corner, and it's the guy that's coming back from his win last week. It's the baddest man on the fantasy planet, Michael Shanoudi. You can follow him over on X at Shanu471. Mike, you know, maybe a chance at a back-to-back victory here. All things tight ends here tonight. Are you ready to rock?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite positions. You guys know I have a lot of say in this position. One of my favorite things to talk about is to try to get these tight ends, not only in the premium, but in redrafts, startups, and everything like that. So I'm very excited to talk about tiers, my sleepers, everything that Tessier hates in life. He just doesn't like these tight ends, and one in particular in a Lions uniform, but I can't wait to talk about him. So
For sure. Well, let's not go ahead and waste any more time because we are going to the yellow corner on the Wisconsin-Minnesota line, fresh back from the Expo. And I will say, making the merch up, the Dynasty DNA whistle-to-whistle T-shirt is awesome to share. I got it on here right now so everyone can see it. You got it going on. And he's got a terrible towel that he purchased in the Pittsburgh airport when I picked him up.
Give him a point. Give him a point for that. He deserves a point.
We're going to give him a point.
I'm down 1-0 just for that, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, Mike's cool with that. I mean, that's just brotherly love right there, right? 1 point, the yellow towel for the yellow corner, the Steelers' terrible towel. Tessier, how was your experience at Pittsburgh Airport? I know they delayed your flight, but you said the airport was pretty nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It was full of good stuff to go around, look at. Space and did get a picture with the Immaculate Reception, but I thought, hey, if I was going to be here for an extended period of time, I'm not leaving this airport without a terrible towel.
That's my dog right there, and that's why he's the Dynasty DNA propaganda minister. And just for those of you that should follow, it's Tessier91 over on X. But okay, let's just get into it right now, fellas. You know, we've been doing these all things shows. This is the last one, the last position we will be covering before the 2026 season. Of course, we're going to be continuing on with different topics next week, but let's finish the all things show with the tight ends. And you know what? Since Ty isn't here, Mike, the honor of going first will come over to you, and it's tight end versus tight end. Let's talk some tight end values here, Mike. I'm going to give you some names of some tight ends, one for one. I want to know if you were building a dynasty roster right here, right now, who do you have more faith in and why going forward comparatively to each other? The first one's going to be Kyle Pitts or Sam Laporta here, Mike. You know, I know Tessier is a little bit concerned with this injury. I know the contract situation, this and that with Sam Laporta, but Kyle Pitts has been someone that's been very hot and cold. If you had to say one of the better, right? I mean, maybe you don't like both of these guys, and you could preface that. But if you had to pick one over the other, why would you go that direction?
I'm going to pick the guy that I think Tessier doesn't want me to pick, but I'm going to pick Sam Laporta. I think really in this case, I mean, you said it, TJ, Kyle Pitts, hot and cold, man. It doesn't matter who's quarterbacking, whether it's Kirk Cousins, whether it's Michael Penix, even with Tua now, I don't even know what's about to happen. Like Bob likes to say, you can only play the Buccaneers so many times with Kyle Pitts. So after those two games, I mean, after that, he's an afterthought. Sure, he's the second probably best pass catcher on his team behind Drake London, which all intents and purposes is great when you look at the scheme. But with Stefanski, I think I said it in the last show, he wants to run the football. He wants to get Bijan Robinson going. He wants to bring in Brian Robinson Jr. in there as well. So I feel like with Laporta, you know his role. His role is when he's healthy, he's the guy that Goff wants to be used. They got the new offensive coordinator from Arizona, who we all don't like, but there is a good news with him is he did help Trey McBride become Trey McBride. Am I right or am I right? I feel like that's where I find the parallel. Now, if you read camp reports now, a lot of these guys are going on the PUP list. He didn't make it on the PUP list, from what I remember. Tucker Kraft did, and some other guys did. So with Sam Laporta, I feel like now he's fully healthy. He's ready to rock. And good news to Teixeira, if they want to trade him, I feel like they're going to trade him to a place where he's going to be the featured guy. So I want wherever Laporta is going, I feel like he's going to be more of his rookie season than last season. Even last season, he wasn't that bad. He just had some injury issues and stuff like that. I don't know if Teixeira just coughed because of that or what, but I'm with Laporta over Pitts. It's just the lesser of two evils, right? And fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So I'm not going to do it that way anymore.
All right. So Mike is going to go with the better offense. He's going to go with the player he trusts us a little bit more. Teixeira, look, I know Mike said that Sam Laporta didn't make it on the PUP list. Now, I will say this for Mike. We were in the car on the car ride home, and we heard the Lions come on satellite radio, Lions News. Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch are on the PUP list, which Teixeira said, told you so. He knew that was going to happen. But Teixeira, okay, I know these players are probably two that aren't your cup of tea right now, but if you had to look at it objectively, one for one, maybe you don't like them both, and I can understand that, but if you had to say, okay, I'm painting in a corner with these two options, who do you like and why does it break down for you that way?
I'm going leaning the Sam Laporta side just because, for full disclosure, I want neither of these guys on my roster. If I do have them on my rosters, it's because it's planning on move on from them at some point, even as a contender. I think that Sam Laporta holds more value in trades and name value. His production really hasn't reflected that. Before the injury last year, he finished tight end 8. And his rookie year, he finished in the top 3. So I have to see more of Laporta consistently with this new offensive scheme triangle that they're running between Kafka, Petzing, and Campbell. If it goes south there, I can see his numbers even stay to middle tight end 10 to 15. I just am so concerned with this whole new offensive scheme coming in, not necessarily the quarterback, because now if they're moving Penei Sewell to the other side of the line, he could be spending more time blocking than out receiving. And whereas I think Kyle Pitts could be doing more receiving, even with the lesser quarterback. But all in all, these guys aren't staying on my rosters for long, and I'm just holding on to Sam Laporta just because of trade value and maybe packaging him the deal to try to climb up the ladder at the tight end position or upgrade somewhere else or get capital in the 2027 draft.
All right, Teixeira, and I'll tell you what, you're on a roll right now, right? I mean, not only did you get that the Lions safeties were going to be on the PUP and it wasn't good, you know, I do like what you had to say here about Laporta and Pitts. Like, and I think Mike agrees, right? You're playing with a live hand grenade with both of these guys. I think, right? I think you are. And like you said about like 11 to 15, like I could see a world where they're both kind of going to be in there. And if that happens, right, like the value is going to pop on both of these players. Like I think these guys are both like, if you want to move them, now's the time, right? Like if you really want to move them and get the most bang for your buck, do it now. Because like if they are healthy and they're both 11 to 15, it's just going to fall a little bit, right? Not saying that, you know, if Sam Laporta in 2 years or Kyle Pitts in a year come out and do tight end 4 or 5 numbers, the value won't go back up. But who wants to play that dangerous game, right? Sometimes you just got to get ahead of this stuff when you can. And I think that that's why I wanted to bring these two players up to start, because I think not only are their values kind of eerily similar, but their circumstances are as well, right? I just don't think that they're going to be guys that are going to be hovering around that top 5 range again. And, you know, Mike mentioned it. How many times could Kyle Pitts play Tampa Bay, right? Like we talk about that. You take away that big blow-up game in the fantasy playoffs, you're probably looking at tight end 14 or something. Bob talked about that like it's entirely possible, right? Like, and nothing taken away from him because he finished where he finished, but you're taking a big risk. And I think value-wise, as Tessier said, you want to tier up, go ahead, tier up, maybe get a different position, right? Even if you want to tier down and get like a 27 first and a smaller player, like you could do that as well. And we talked about the draft capital. So interesting two players, values the same, circumstances the same. I think we got to be careful with both. But let's go over now to you, Tessier, to start the next one. And it's Oronde Gadsden or Isaiah Likely, right? Okay, so I'm just like pulling you guys' teeth right now, right? Because I know, maybe these players you ain't in love with. Some of them maybe you are, or they're close and similar. So I'm going to make you choose a couple different decisions here. So Tessier, Isaiah Likely, Oronde Gadsden, how does that play out for you? And which side would you like better for now?
For me, it plays out that Gadsden and Likely are probably finishing around the same, about 10 to 15 in tight end position, just solely on the fact that their offenses are really defined by who's coaching and who's coordinating them and the scheme. Like, it could be great for them and they could be the feature of their offense, or it could be bad and they could just be more settling along the consistencies of a tight end too. I don't feel comfortable rocking any of these guys in my tight end one spot at all going into the 2026 season. There's some holes and deficiencies that I'm not liking in their game that would affect bigger fantasy games for them. But I'm going to lean the Gadsden side due to the fact that, like, with the wide receiver room so in flux and, like, oversaturated with talent, and bringing in David Njoku, whereas that might have some short-term, like, hiccups for him and more, like, hurdles for him getting through productive games in the offense. I think all in all, once that calms, the water's calm, I think I've seen enough from him last year. I know he faded towards the end, but I think he's just more solid, consistent tight ends for dynasty rosters in the long view going forward. I think he could be a sustained success in that offense with, in my opinion, the better quarterback and the better coaching staff. It's just the situation has to shake up and clear up a little bit better. I think these guys are both going to do fine on your rosters if you have them. I'm not trying to ship them off like a Kyle Pitts or a Sam Laporta, but just temper expectations in 2026. And I think at the end of the day, these are going to be a little bit two of the more frustrating tight ends to play week to week because you don't know what kind of game is going to come out of them.
All right, Tessier. So are you going the Gadsden side then by a hair? Okay, I thought that's what you said. I just wanted to make sure. But, I mean, very good breakdown, right? Again, I like the way you kind of preface that. Okay, Mike, same question coming to you. Isaiah Likely, Oronde Gadsden. If you had to say, hey, I'm going to go with one of these guys, I have to go with one of these guys right now, who do you like more? And maybe do you not have confidence in either of these players long term?
I mean, in confidence in this year, I have no confidence in either. These are kind of like the lottery picks that I like to say at the end of drafts. Like if you have like a good tight end there in the middle, like of the pack, like a Tyler Warren, a Colston Loveland, these are the guys I would put at the end of the bench or put in like your like bottom of the roster, kind of see how it goes. But for me, both guys are fighting off kind of established guys. Like Gadsden is fighting off Njoku, who they brought in, and Isaiah Likely. People forget that Jackson Dart had a really good rapport with Theo Johnson, and like that's something that I really am struggling with these two. So by a hair, I'm going to give it to the guy that I followed the money for, who went to his old coach, who's going to this new offense that we're very excited for. I think it's Isaiah Likely. I think Isaiah Likely could be a touchdown machine. He's not going to be a guy that I'm going to be very happy to play in my tight end role every single week, but it's some guy that I could see developing that. You know, we talked about the decline of Mark Andrews and when this guy was going to come up for the Ravens. All of a sudden he goes with his old coach to this new offense with Brian Daboll, who we believe can make Jackson Dart into something. Don't forget, Malik Neighbors is not going to be ready for week one. There's no way. I will put my stamp on it right now that he won't be, and the balls need to go somewhere. And I don't believe that we're going to like Darius Slay. And I don't believe like we're going to like those types of options because Wan'Dale Robinson is gone too. So there's going to be some like communication of using the 12 personnel. And I really do like Isaiah Likely's chances in that. Gadsden, I don't know because they brought in Njoku and he kind of fade away there at the end. So we'll see what happens.
Right. And I mean, I think I have to agree with you just so slightly here, Mike. But look, I mean, you're really banking a lot. Like, I think that there's a better chance, right, that this season Likely will probably outplay him. And I will say this, I am not a fan of Matt Nagy, as everyone knows, right? I mean, he's up there with Adam Gase and some of these others that we wanted out of the league. Matt Canada, good God, I don't even want to think about that right now. But, Teixeira's got the terrible talents bringing back memories, and it's making me angry. But let me just say here right now, Isaiah Likely, if there's one player in this offense that I think can do something in the receiving game, it's probably going to be him, right? If they can muster anything, because it's going to be high percentage passes, right? It's going to be more underneathy type stuff. And as you said, Mike, I mean, Malik Neighbors ain't going to be ready. Now, as far as Oronde Gadsden goes, I don't think that there's a guy to me that's a bigger sell, right? Like, I just think that, like, he's a classic name without a position, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, I mean, is he a flex? Is he a tight end? Is he a wide receiver? Is he a slot guy? Like, you just don't know, right? Like, he's a hybrid. And the Chargers, I've said it, fraud. I don't believe in that team, but I think, again, these two guys, in my opinion, and we talk about why these are close, I think that they could be another one you want to sell now, right? Like, try to sell them now, because you're selling the fact that Isaiah Likely is going to be the guy in this new team. He's an athlete, right? Well, if it underachieves, the balloon's going to pop. Oronde Gadsden, same thing. He's in an offense that just has so many mouths to feed. They don't know how to feed it proportionally, right? Like, we haven't seen that. And then you look at the fact that Njoku's there, as you guys talked about. That could be a little bit of a problem as well. So, look, if these guys both ended up being like 15 to 18, I would not be completely shocked, right? I really wouldn't. And, hey, if I could get a good price for either of them right now, if I'm a rebuilder, I have no shame in taking an early to mid-second for Isaiah Likely. I really don't. Like, I just think you can replace him in the aggregate so easily. And then you look at Oronde Gadsden. I mean, it's going to be a little bit tougher because you want that hype to kind of build, and it's kind of simmered down a little bit. I think you would have been better moving him a few months ago. But, hey, if you could get something good right now, like let's just say you can get a Gunnar Helm in a second for Oronde Gadsden, I'm making that move, right? I'm going to make that move, and I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. So just a couple guys I really don't believe in superly either, but I think I would lean the Likely side, but I do think that we got to move both players. If I'm going to be looking at this objectively, that's the way I'd approach it. But, okay, Mike, going over to the next one here, starting with you. Dalton Kincaid or Jake Ferguson?
Wow, this is talk about a rock and a hard place for real this time. Okay, talk about moving two guys. If you can move these two guys, please move these two guys. I'm saying that. Teixeira, you don't have to agree with me. That's fine, because here's the reason. I believe that both guys are – they're going to be there in their offense. You're going to have some boom weeks, but the bust happens too often for me to be like, I can't do anything with these guys. If I had to choose, I'd choose the guy in the better offense with the better quarterback, which is Dalton Kincaid. And reports in practice is all the same now. I know it's only day one of these training camp practices, but hey, he's like, oh, Dalton and Josh Allen, they're finally on the same page, and blah, 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 and they're going, and this, that, and the third. One thing that did change in this offense, they do have what you want to call a quote-unquote alpha receiver in DJ Moore. I put this quote-unquote because it's really not. But, like, there's still going to be targets that need to be thrown to. It's still going to be the Josh Allen, James Cook show. But at the same time, like, Dalton Kincaid could get those red zone targets more than Jake Ferguson, because I feel like Dak now is trying to please two wide receivers that are super alpha profiles, and George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. So now I feel like Jake Ferguson's by the wayside, and he's just a guy that's like, oh, we'll give him a pass here and there. We're going to give him a dump route here and there. And I still think Javonte Williams is necessary in that offense too. So there's only one football, right? We talk about it in other sports where it's only one ball. There's only one ball to give, and there's only so many possessions. So for me, I'm moving away from these two guys, but if I had to choose, Dalton Kincaid by age, offense, and where he's going next. So,
okay, Mike. I mean, I can't fault you for like why you done what you did, and you laid it out right. I mean, I'm going to probably be on the other side of the ledger, and I'll talk about why. But again, I know why you're doing what you're doing, chasing the ceiling, right? I mean, that's kind of what you're thinking, and there's never no shame in that in a dynasty sense. All right, Teixeira, coming over here to you. Dalton Kincaid, Jake Ferguson, how does it break down in your eyes?
It's not even close. It's Jake Ferguson. Dalton Kincaid hasn't even finished inside the top 10 in his entire career, and he's been mostly unhealthy, whereas Jake Ferguson has been steady, Eddie, consistent with 2 top 10 finishes in his career, both years when Dak was healthy. I'm projecting that Dak stays healthy and plays full 17 games, that Jake Ferguson is on track for another top 10 finish here at the tight end position. He's the most secure tight end too. I plant my flag and stamp on for at the tight end position for Dynasty and fantasy, because as we've seen so far with this tight end position, they go into their 30s. You got probably another at least 5-6 years left, Jake Ferguson, even though he's going into the season at the age of 28. And I think both of these tight ends in their systems with their quarterbacks are tight end dependent regardless. And if I'm going to count on who's going to throw the tight end more, I think it's going to be Dak Prescott to Jake Ferguson, where on the Dalton Kincaid side of the argument, Dawson Knox is still there for a reason, and they drafted Jackson Hawes out of Iowa, and we know that they can produce successful, productive tight ends out of that school. So I think there's a lot more challenging things going ahead still for Dalton Kincaid to be effective in his offense with the Buffalo Bills. I think you could still find another outside the top 10 finish for him. And if I want to have a guy that's going to hold more long-term value to trade off of, if I'm not, feeling comfortable with him come the deadline, I think you get more value moving off of Jake Ferguson than you would be a Dalton Kincaid.
All right. So, Teixeira, again, I like to kind of weigh your thinking on this, but, I can make a case for what Mike said. I will never dock points just because I disagree with somebody, right? It's the approach or the insults that, Ty throws on guys. He's the automatic buzzer sometimes. But let me just say this. Mike, saying the ceiling, right, I can see that. Saying the Cowboys with the two receivers, I can see saying that. But I'm with you. Jake Ferguson is steady Eddie. I think that is really your only worry with him, right? As long as they can all function, the touchdowns have to be there. But as you said, Teixeira, and I have it on a lot of rosters, him as my dynasty tight end too, there's still some value there. And I think you can justify sometimes picking him where you're picking him in startups because he can deliver that, right? It can be very inconsistent, as Mike said, both guys especially. Ferguson was real hot at the beginning of the season and cooled off. But look at it this way, right? If you had him and you had to flex him early in them weeks, probably weeks 1 through 9, you probably won a lot of games because of it. And I think he could justify his value there. So I'm going to lean with Ferguson too and the floor over the ceiling. But again, I could never fault someone for chasing that ceiling, right? But let's go over now to the next question here on the list. And it's going to be, let's go 12 personnel, Teixeira. I'm going to list some tight ends that have a running mate to a degree here. And I want to know if you feel if some of these guys could be sneaky values, being the second option in their offense potentially. Could they outperform expectations a little bit? So I'm going to give you a name, and I want to see what your dynasty expectations are for this player. David Njoku, Teixeira. Look, we know he signed with the Chargers, been a solid player for Cleveland for a while, right? Kind of a letdown at times, but still steady Eddie. Not a bust, but he goes to the Chargers now with Oronde Gadsden. How do you see it shaking out for Njoku? Do you like him? Do you think he could be a little bit of a value where you're getting him in drafts? What's your thoughts?
I think he'd be a steal in drafts. You could scoop up towards the end, if not the end of your draft, as your tight end 3 or 4 if you're going that deep at the position on your roster. I think with the system he's going into with Harbaugh and McDaniels, they featured the tight end in the past, as we've seen. And even though he started to fade out in Cleveland towards the end with the emergence of Harold Fannin coming up ahead of him, Njoku has got a top 20 finish this year in Dynasty for you. And he's going to have his moments, probably very tight end or touchdown dependent on his team, certainly. And I'm not expecting him to put up 1,000 yards, 70 catches, and double-digit touchdowns. But I think he's going to be a plug-and-play tight end if you need in a pinch to put out there and get about 4 to 8 points as a floor and maybe a ceiling of 12 to 14 if he gets that touchdown any given week.
All right, so Teixeira says, look, as a tight end 3-4, and I like that, Teixeira, right? You don't want to wait super long and get any of these guys and bank on them being your tight end 1, but as far as value concern goes, not a bad option down around that area, Mike. I don't know what your outlook is on Njoku. This is a player that we're very familiar with, right, being in the AFC North all them years. How do you like him with the Chargers, and do you think there could be some value there as a 12 personnel depth piece?
Yeah, absolutely. Teixeira put it out perfectly, right? We We know that McDaniels likes to use those 2 tight end sets, whether it's for him to pass the football or to run the football. The reason why my guy this year is Amari Hampton. I feel like they're going to put a lot of bodies out there to make him run the football, to get him there. And I feel like Njoku, he's a red zone threat. Like, I mean, even when Fannin was there, I mean, Tessier put it out there too. It's like, I felt like I always saw that 85 right there catching the ball. And I'm like, wow, they still love him after all the things that he's done and stuff like that. Flacco, when he was there, he was targeting him. I mean, the guy is just a veteran, savvy tight end, where it kind of reminds me of, I'm trying to think of the guy like Cameron or Jordan Cameron. You remember him for the Browns as well? Like, he just kept catching the football. He was everywhere for the Dolphins and for the Browns. I feel like Njoku's the same way. And, like, I'm not saying follow the money, but this was a coveted guy out there in free agency. And he joined the Chargers for a reason. I feel like outside of McConkey and Huge, there is some balls that can get to him, as well as Gadsden. So I feel like Njoku has some value. So
yes, and I agree, right? I look at it like, I think they're going to put Gadsden in the slot, guys. I think that's going to be their main focus. And if that happens, I'm sorry, Oronde Gadsden owners, I think that could be a nightmare, right? I really do. And I think you're going to have Njoku more on the in line, and he could move around a little bit too. But, there was a guy that I called out with McDaniel when he was in Miami. His name was John News Smith, right? You remember that, right? All that big-time play that he produced. I can see David Njoku, not quite to that level, because I don't believe in the Chargers offense that heavily. But I will say, I think that he could do a little damage there. And if you're getting him in like the 17th, 18th round in some of these dynasty drafts, it's still David Njoku. He's been a solid, serviceable player. So, hey, as Tessier said, tight end 3, as Mike said, look, he kind of catches a lot. It's around him. And I'll never forget when he played with his face burnt, right? That grease fire thing. I will always have respect for that guy after that. That guy is one tough son of a bitch. There's no doubt about it. But let's go over here now to the next one, Mike, and we'll start with you. Probably a good thing we are. It's Cole Kmet of the Hammond Bears, Mike. The guy that caught the big touchdown there in the playoff game from Caleb off that crazy throw, right? Colston Loveland gotten a lot of juice as a high option in the tight end room. Do you think that there's any kind of late-round value still for Cole Kmet, Mike?
Personally, I'm going to say no. And I'm only going to say this because I agree with Tessier in one thing that he's always said about the Bears. They want to run the football. They really want to with Monangai and with Swift. I feel like that was the main reason why DJ Moore got traded out. But for me, I'm also following the tea leaves. Colston Loveland can't be Colston Loveland if this guy's eating away in his work, right? So it's kind of a selfish thing for me to say, but in a way, he catches these touchdowns every once in a while. Fine, great. It's like you see him. We try to make him a thing for a while, and then there's a reason why Colston Loveland goes in the first round. And we love the talent. We love the way that he works. And I feel like we now see the new Caleb and Loveland stack that people are trying to do now in dynasty leagues. And there's a reason for that. I feel like Kmet is going to be the guy who's going to be behind Loveland, Rome, and Luther Burden. So I just can't get behind a team that wants to run the football and the fourth option. So I'm not really having him anywhere in my dynasty leagues, but I understand if people believe that the 12 personnel that Ben Johnson kind of doesn't run, this is who they want. So,
all right. So Mike says, not so fast, my friend, right? He was able to get on the David Njoku bus, but he can't get on the Cole Kmet bus here to share. Look, these Hammond Bears well in the NFC North. What's your thoughts on Cole Kmet as a low round, dynasty dart throw? Is he done? Is he someone you're really not super interested? Do you agree with Mike, or do you think there could be a little life support here?
I think there could be a little bit of life support, and if I got a spot on my roster at the end of the drafts, I'm doing it, even as for realistic purposes, like Njoku, quarterback or the tight end 3 or 4. He's got a few years on him too, but Cole Kmet is a big athletic tight end, and to his credit, he stayed healthy over his 6-year career. He's only missed 2 games, and he's had two top 10 tight end finishes with subpar quarterback play before Caleb Williams showed up to camp. I got this sneaking feeling that if it's going to be how the new wave hype of 2026 is going and everyone's making Loveland a thing, he is one injury away of taking that spot in that role and filling those vacancies that Loveland would be. and he could have a really good, sneaky good season and finish way above his ADP and where he's going. And if you like the idea of stacking your tight ends with your quarterbacks and you missed out on the Loveland train in your draft, I love the strategy of taking him at the bottom of drafts, putting some of those rookies in your taxi spots, and then letting him just sit there. And if that opportunity comes up, to do it. I mean, he's got tight end or touchdown potential up the wazoo, and I liked him coming out of college. And even so, as it comes closer to the trade deadline in the NFL, who knows? He might move to a team that is tight end needy, and his value could go way, way up and have higher value than where you drafted him at. And you could potentially flip him for some 2027 capital if that's a strategy you want to go as a contender, or help give you some depth as you're making a run for the championship this year. I like Cole Kmet as a sneaky ad option, and for the cost you have to pay for him, I think the risk is worth it. All
right, so interesting. Teixeira, not always supporting the Bears, but, giving Cole Kmet a little bit of love there. And, a lot of good points laid out by you, Teixeira, right? The guy has been healthy. He's played a lot. But as Mike said, right, it's going to come down, I really think, to the health of Colston Loveland, right? And you mentioned that as well. Like, if Colston Loveland's out there, I think it's going to be tough. I will say this. If I get Colston Loveland, and I think Mike can agree with this, if I get Colston Loveland, I think super late I'm going to try to get Kmet, right? Just to have him there to backfill it. I'm telling you, tight end handcuffs. I know Bob used that term, and, he was kind of chuckling about it, but as many tight ends that we see, and to Teixeira's credit, Cole Kmet can play. We've seen it a couple top 10 type finishes. The guy ain't like he's a scrub, so at least there's some comfort there if you're getting him that late. Like, the guy ain't no scrub, right? So at least if you could add him in that capacity, I'm okay with it. So I think that is at least a good way to roadmap it for him. Outside of that, I wouldn't put too much faith in it, but in them scenarios, I think it could be very good. All right, let's go over here now to the next one. And that wasn't a whiz answer, by the way. He gets too political sometimes, and I'm not going to go that route. But I'm just saying, that could make a case either way for certain scenarios on that one. Next one on the list here, Mike, we're going to come over, or Teixeira, we're going to come over here to you. Sorry, I give Wiz a hard time. I love it. Jake Tonges here, Teixeira. Tonges basketball is big culture, Bob likes to say, with the San Francisco 49ers. What's your outlook on him? What's your thoughts? Any late round interest in Tonges here?
Yeah, my outlook with them is a lot higher after this week than it was last week with the news of George Kittle going on the PUP. I think he's going to have some short-term immediate value for you at the tight end position for the 49ers. There's some games last year where you saw him flash due to, having opportunity and volume there, but also just the lackluster wide receiver play out of San Francisco and the inconsistencies there. So Brock Purdy got a rapport with them, got comfort with them. You saw some bigger games that you wouldn't normally have seen. And I think in drafts, he's going way, way late, and if not drafted at all. And he's a guy that I think you could just scoop up off of waiver wires after startup drafts if you got some rookies to throw in your taxi. And I think he's more of the type of tight end that I want looking at more long view. I think his impact for 2026 could be more condensed and shorter within like 4 weeks of big splash. And if you're not into it after that, when George Kittle comes back into the fold and Mike Evans is doing his thing and Ricky Pearsall somehow stays healthy and put some games together and flip him for some capital down the road if you don't want to keep him on your rosters. But if you do, I think George Kittle's getting up there at the age and he's very injury riddled. So I think he's just, one maybe offseason away of being the starter in San Francisco. And we know the starting tight end in San Francisco is a value position for us in fantasy. It's very full of production and full of touchdowns. And as long as Brock Purdy's the quarterback there, he likes the tight end position. He likes throwing to him. And I think this is a great investment for your team on contending rosters long-term. And for rebuilders, just keep him there because the value could accrue and he could be a rotational piece in your tight end room as your team grows and gets more competitive through the draft and through via other trades and elsewhere.
All right, Teixeira, I like what you had to say. Mike, do you agree with Teixeira here as far as in the short term, right? I think there's some interest here. We know the San Francisco offense is prolific when using this type of position at tight end. What's your thoughts? Do you agree with him as far as the way he laid it out?
Yeah, absolutely. Tonjes here, I've been telling people to go get him. He's probably the best number 2 tight end you can ask for. And I'm not saying this against George Kittle. Age is coming up. His injury history, we all know. and Kyle Shanahan loves using that tight end. He loves getting these guys. There's not a lot of tight ends where you're like, what Bob says, the handcuff for them that works out. I feel like Jake Tungus does that all the time. And I feel like he might be a starter for weeks 1 through 4 because of the pub thing. I believe, like Teixeira said, you could keep him on the roster, see how things go on the offseason, see if they draft another tight end. But I feel like he provides everything in terms of blocking, catching the ball in the middle of the field, a red zone target, pretty big guy. All in all, I feel like there's a lot of good nuances to Jake Tungus, whether it's with the 49ers or with somebody else later on. This could be a Isaiah Likely situation where he moves teams and we're like, hey, the potential is always there. Let's see if he could do it with the team when he's the number one. So that's where I'm at with Tungus, and you probably don't even need to pay that much for him. I've seen him go for like a third or a fourth, and people are like, yeah, give it to me. I don't really care. So
I like it, Mike, and Teixeira. Look, I think in the immediate situation here, this guy is someone that we definitely have to look at, especially in startup drafts. Like, you can get him probably super late. The fact that Kittle is on the pup, got to remind all the listeners out there, right? Like, if you have George Kittle, maybe Tungus wouldn't be a bad move in a startup, or, I mean, definitely not in a startup, or, as far as like a third or something, like if you want to add him, as Mike said, I think one of the better 2 tight ends in the league, the second guy, and we talk about the handcuff. If you have Kittle, that might not be a bad thing. He's definitely going to get targets. He's definitely going to get looks. He's proven that as long as he stays healthy. The power plant. Bob talks about the power plant, so does Teixeira. It's for real. He's got to stay healthy out there. But I think in that instance, in the short term, this guy could be a steal later in startups for his early season impact, right? So keep that in mind. And as Mike said, who knows? Maybe he goes somewhere else, gets a look, and gets a golden opportunity we could take advantage of. But let's go over here now to the next one here. And I should say the last one here, Mike, and it's Elijah Arroyo of the Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. We have A.J. Barner there, kind of come onto the scene a little bit unexpectedly, right? I know a lot of people didn't see that or had that on their bingo cards, did play solid for them. What's your thoughts on Elijah Arroyo? Is it dead, or is this someone maybe you still have some hope in as far as a young guy?
I still have some hope. I mean, like, this is kind of a situation where it's like, yeah, A.J. Barner came on, stuff like that. I mean, we saw I guess you could say, the resurgence of Sam Darnold in this offense. I really want to see what happens without Clint Kubiak. I feel like a lot of that comes with it. And then our champion, TJ, Kenneth Walker, left. So we'll see how this offense looks without him.
Oh, Mike.
I'm only saying that because we both have the same hate for him. That's the only reason why I'm saying that. So I mean, Arroyo was drafted, and people thought he was a sleeper tight end from that draft for a reason, right? He was super athletic. He kind of killed the combine. He kind of had that kind of feel of like the later round tight ends where he might make a move, right? So, and then A.J. Barner comes out of nowhere, has the rapport with Sam Darnold. So, in my opinion, like, with these offensive weapons besides JSN, I'm going to see what I can pick out and see what can look better next year, because now there's tape on them. There's a new offensive coordinator. I don't know what's about to happen, but it could swing the other way with Arroyo, like we said with like how it happened with Njoku and Fannin, where Fannin just all of a sudden he's the rookie and he comes in. Now Njoku's on another team, so we really want to see what happens with Arroyo. And like I said, it doesn't cost you anything. So might as well just put him on your bench and just see what happens.
For sure, it never hurts, right? I don't think that hurts at all just to have him there. And look, he's probably on the waiver wire in most leagues, right? We know that. Like, he's probably going to be available unless it's like a dynasty league, right, where he's sitting on somebody's taxi squad, right? I mean, he could be on the wire, especially in redraft, right? After the draft's over, he'll be out there, right? If you want to add him, I could see that. Let's go over to you, Teixeira. Mike says, look, I mean, there's still some athleticism. There's still target opportunity potentially in that Seattle Seahawks offense. And look, I think I have to agree with him to a degree, right? Like, I know Barner looked good last year, but, I just really don't believe in a second receiving option too much on this team right yet. I know Horton's got a little bit of hope and buzz, but you look at Arroyo, similar profile, athletic type of guy. What's your outlook on him as far as a later round dynasty value?
Well, I'll just piggyback off of where Mike left off, or you left off, about him being on waiver wires. He's probably, if you're like me, I'm the one who dropped him there. I'm out. I got burnt by him, investing him in the draft class when he was coming in, and I played too much into his athletic ability and what he's capable of and what he did in Miami. But the deal is his knee injuries are serious, and he started out last year on the IR, and he, I believe, lost his job to Barner. I think he's going to be this. He was a Super Bowl in that playoff run. He worked miracles for that team to get him there, and I think he's earned the right to be the tight end one in that offense, in that job, and in an offense that really doesn't feature the tight end to begin with. I know even Kubiak there last year, they didn't really feature the tight end a whole heck of a lot, and I think with this Fleury guy coming in from Kyle Shanahan's system that features a lot of rushing attack and tight ends, I still don't got warm fuzzy feeling. It's his first tight end, or his first OC job. So there's going to be some hiccup. There's going to be some slow start. It's going to be a situation, I think, for these tight ends in Seattle, especially for Arroyo. A lot of things have to break the right way. They're going to try to implement the running game and get Price going. And then when Charbonnet comes back, are they going to focus on that? And then the Torrey Horton's looking really good in training camp, and JSN's still there. They're going to command, I think, a lot of the offense with Sam Darnold throwing it around. I don't want any part of Arroyo or this tight end pool in Seattle. I think I'm staying away from. Certainly, objectively speaking, yeah, they hold a lot of steal value because I think the consensus of the fantasy community is they're letting them go out of drafts and they're sitting on waivers, and you can just scoop them up if you're tight end needy or tight end desperate. But in no way, shape, or form have I tried to fit Arroyo onto my rosters with the hope that he's going to be something on that team. I think where he's going to have his dynasty fantasy prevalence or any relevancy is if he gets moved on at some point to another team at the end of his rookie contract and flourishes there. I just don't see it happening in Seattle.
All right, so Teixeira, not so much interested. Right, I'll say this, in later round startups, you want to throw a dart, I'm okay with it, right, because I do like the ability that he can provide as far as athleticism, but again, he hasn't proven nothing, right, and we talk about some of these other guys, they have proven a little bit of something in the past, but, I mean, look, you want to take a shot at a ceiling-type player, I have no problem with that later that way. Am I specifically looking for him in trades and things? Not necessarily, but, I mean, look, if he's there, I don't mind a stash, right, I don't mind a stash on Elijah Arroyo. And the injury, that's a big thing. Look, Teixeira brought up a good point. Let's see how his knee or knees in general look coming into year 2 here. But let's go over to the next question here, and it's going to be stacking up sophomore tight ends here, Mike, starting with you. With many second-year tight ends being highly valued coming into the season, I want you to rank these guys as far as who you value as far as best dynasty option. And from the best to least or least to best, how do you make this out for these sophomore tight ends? Colston Loveland, of course, Tyler Warren, Harold Fannin Jr., Oronde Gadsden, and Gunnar Helm. And I can tell you right now, Mike would like to have a lot of these guys on his Christmas wish list. I'll tell you that.
I love this draft class. This draft class is amazing. I don't think I've ever had a tight end draft class that I've been more excited of in a long time. So I'll go from least to best, if that's your favorite. So I'm going to go with Gadsden last, and that's nothing against him. Look, I'm going to put these guys in these orders, but I love all of them. The only reason why I put Gadsden last is because we saw the fade in the last few weeks of the season with Justin Herbert, whether that's because the offense kind of fell apart without their tackles, whether he was trying to get the football out fast enough. There was no Amari and Hampton to run the football. It was kind of like a wishy-washy situation. And then they bring in Njoku, a new offensive coordinator. So I'm just kind of on the fence with him, but I still love him a lot, and I still hope he has a great rest of his career. Just right now, he wouldn't be the guy from this draft class I would go after. And at number 4, we love Gunnar Helm for a reason, right? Gunnar Helm is going to be the tight end 1 in Tennessee. I just feel like his situation's also kind of murky. New coaching staff. Is Cam Ward good? Is Tate good? Like, all these different things. Like, we're still trying to figure out this Tennessee offense. We all believe it's going to be better, and I believe Gunnar Helm is going to be one of those tight ends that ascends in the middle of the season, where we're looking back, it's like, hey, you remember that guy you picked last in your fantasy draft or in your startups? Well, he's now tight end like 7 of the year, and he can have that potential. So now I go to the top 3 where I feel like these are the alphas. These are the can't-miss guys. And, quarterbacking is my favorite thing talking about tight ends, and that's where I have Fannin at 3, is because we don't know who this quarterback is, whether it's Shador, whether it's Watson. Shoot, it could be Dylan Gabriel at this point. We don't have any idea. But I believe his talent can surpass that. We saw it last year. He can be a guy that you can plug and play your tight end one position. He's going to have more success down the road, whether they figure out that quarterback position later on, or maybe Watson turns into Watson again. We don't know. So that's why I don't have him where the other 2 are. So the other 2, we know who's number 2. Tyler Warren. I believe the athletic freak. He's going to have all those targets that Michael Pittman vacated. We love him, and we love Josh Downs for a reason. I feel like Daniel Jones comes back. This offense is going to flourish a little bit more. We saw that he was doing great with Daniel Jones, and I feel like he's going to be the red zone target. Whether they're going to give Jonathan Taylor more breaks around that goal line, try to do pop passes, and give it to him. Now, I will keep this short. We know who my number 1 is. I'm going to Loveland, and I ain't coming back. I love Colston Loveland. He found his rapport with his quarterback, and I'm dare to say, is Caleb Williams and him the new Mahomes and Kelsey? We don't know yet. I'm not putting that out there. I'm just saying there's the feeling. Whether it's hype or not, Teixeira, you got to believe in the Loveland. You got to believe in the guy whose talent is down the seam. He can go down the seam, take your best safety for a ride. He can make your linebacker look slow. DJ Moore, whatever targets he has left, it's all going to him. Pick Luther Burden. Pick Roman Dunze. Colston Loveland is the guy in Chicago, planting my flag, tight end 1 for the season this year. Let's go, Colston Loveland.
Let me just say this, right, Mike? I mean, I know you're proud of the whole Egypt connection, right? I know you love that, and I'm proud of that too. They had Ramses the Great. We have Mike the Great, right? Mike the Great Shanoudi here, because I love that. Pipe it up, just pump it up, Colston Loveland, left and right, right? We Dynasty DNA, we got the baddest pharaoh of them all. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, sir.
We love that. All right, so now Teixeira, Mike really giving the love to Loveland there at number 1. But this is an interesting tight end group, as I mentioned. Mike loves this whole team, this whole setup. So I want to know here right now, what's your thoughts on this tight end group? Where does this break down from you, 5-1? Go ahead and spill it out for us.
I have these from 5-1 in 2, possibly 3 different tiers of tight ends. All these guys have the potential to finish higher than what their ADP is going and where they're being drafted. But I'm going to start out 5. I'm going to go Oronde Gadsden. If you've been listening for any amount of time, you know how I feel about this Chargers offense and what they've been doing, what they're capable of, and what they've shown on game day versus what's on paper. And I think that they brought in Njoku for a reason, as Mike alluded to it earlier in their episode. Follow the money, and he's going to be a thing. He's going to be in his thorn in his side the entire year long, and it's going to really cap his performances. He's probably going to be one of the more frustrating tight ends on this list that you have here if you're rostering him. And I do advocate of what you were pitching earlier, is probably try to move off of him if you can. So that's why I have him at 5. I think he's a good guy, probably a good guy. He's a solid player, but I don't think he's going to have that ceiling as the guys at the 1, 2, and 3 spot. At 4, I'm going to put, this might become to a surprise, but I'm going to put Harold Fannin Jr. just due to the quarterback situation. And I think I'm a little bit leery of, with Njoku out of the town, how that really shakes out with how much respect defenses are going to put on him. I know rookie year, we've seen it all the time. You catch defenses off guard. You catch DCs off guard. They don't know what to expect out of you. They have inklings coming out of college, what you're capable of. But are you able to, like TJ says, tough act to follow? Is he going to be able to put up the touchdowns he did put up in year 1 with even a murky quarterback situation? And not only that, they brought in 2 wide receivers for a reason, and they invested them early in this draft, and that's going to be a problem as well. It's one of those situations where there's a lot of mouths to feed and not a lot of competency at the position to get him the amount of volume and fantasy production that you'll see out of these top 3 guys potentially this season, which could be just a smidge less frustrating than a Gadsden, because I think all in all, if I was going 1-for-1, I think Harold Fanta Jr. long-term in Dynasty is just higher than Oronde Gadsden. At 3, probably more obvious of the remaining tight ends on my list, I'm going to go Gunnar Helm. I'm a little bit more bullish than some people on the network here with the Tennessee Titans offense. I know they brought in Carnell Tate, but one of the young quarterback's best friend is the tight end. And I think with Chiga Kwankwo vacating targets and touchdown receptions in the end zone, this is going to be a guy that Cam Ward is going to rely upon in the goal-to-go situation inside the 20s. He's not necessarily going to be a yak guy or busting chains and big plays, but I think this is going to be the steady Eddie prototype tight end, like fit in the mold of like a Dallas Goedert or a Jake Ferguson. Like, there's going to be tight end dependent certainly this year, but long-term Dynasty fantasy, he could be easily making the case of banging on the door each year of finishing in the top 10 at the tight end position. And that'll be good based off where you probably got him in your drafts in 2025. At the number 2 and the number 1 spot, it's very debated who goes where and what, but this is my list. So my guy I'm going to put here at 2 is going to be Colston Loveland. Due to all the points that Mike pointed out earlier, to counter his argument is that they're going to run the ball. Caleb is going to feature these wide receivers in the offense. And as much as Colston Loveland had those flashes last season, that didn't come on until the playoff game and late in the year. Where was he at the whole beginning of the year? He was a ghost. He was irrelevant. And in Ben Johnson's offenses, it comes run first and it features these wide receivers. Even when he had Sam Laporta in Detroit, it wasn't his show. I don't think in the Chicago Bears offense, the tight end is going to be the show in Chicago. I think Caleb needs to also, in fact, have a higher completion percentage and narrow in on one target. And if I want a guy in my tight end 1 position, I want him to be the guy in that offense. And for that reason alone, that's why I have Tyler Warren at the number 1 spot, because I think he's going to be the true alpha, the bona fide number 1 target in that Colts offense. I do not care what bag the Colts gave Alec Pierce. I'm not scared of half the season Josh Downs and anybody behind that in the wide receiver room. Great news for Tyler Warren coming out of this week too is that Daniel Jones will be ready to report to camp and start being with the team and getting reps in and being ready for week 1. And if that's the case, we saw the type of damage they could do together before that traumatic injury for Daniel Jones, and I think he has the highest ceiling long-term in fantasy, where I both think these guys can finish top 5. I think Warren could finish top 3 if I had to pick one of these 2 tight ends between Loveland and Warren to finish higher in Dynasty long-term.
All right, so to share, interesting list, right? I kind of like some of the differential things that you had to say. And look, I know Mike really agrees as far as like how close this is on a couple of these players, right? And I mean, you look at Gunnar Helm, nice guy, tries hard. No one gives him enough credit, right? And I agree. My list is exactly the same as Mike's, but I love all these players. As far as the Dynasty perspective, look, I think if you have these guys all rostered at some point, you're really going to get a nice return one way or another, right? Let's say Gunnar Helm even just develops into tight end 12 or 14 consistently. He stays there. It's a niche type area for him. As Mike said, you got him so late. What a nice piece just to add for depth, right? I mean, Harold Fanta, yeah, the Browns could bring him down, but you can't keep a good man down, right? Like, at points, he's going to probably be able to really elevate, and dominate games. But as Teixeira said, more targets coming in. Could be a slow roll for that. And we don't see, we haven't seen Watson play with, Harold Fanta Jr. So we don't know. So if it is Watson starting, that's kind of a mixed bag as far as like what's going to happen there. But for long-term Dynasty value, look, I think those top 4 that we all talked about, and look, no disrespect to Gadsden, I just think that, he's just not going to be someone that's going to be the ceiling type player everybody wanted, right? But you look at all these other guys, that top 4 that you mentioned, I think in one way or another, they're going to provide us some kind of Dynasty value, is whether it be their niche or that top 5 ceiling. Right? Like it could be there. So let's go over now to the next and last question here. We're going to be starting with you, Teixeira, on this one. It's going to be talking tight end trades. Okay, fellas, going to list some hypothetical Dynasty trades here for tight ends. I want to know if you would accept any of these, or would you pass, and just give us your thoughts as far as the overall trade and why you made the decision you made. Teixeira, the first one coming to you. It's a contending roster that you have, Teixeira. It's a tight end premium league, 1.5 tight end premium. Would you trade? This is you trading away from your team. A 2027 mid-first projected, a 2027 late-first projected, Dalton Kincaid for Brock Bowers. So you'd be giving up the 3 pieces to get Brock Bowers in this type of a trade on a contending roster. 1.5 point tight end premium. What's your approach, Teixeira, on this trade?
I'm not blinking. I'm taking Bowers. I want Bowers on my roster as a contender. It's a tight end 1 overall in that position, and that's the type of guy I want to rely on and count on my dynasty rosters contending to get me to the ship and give me the promised land. I'm not going to flinch looking at the 2 first because theoretically, if I win the ship, they're going to be more later than they're going to be earlier. And I think that Brock Bowers is 1A to McBride's 1B. You could flip them either way, but like Kincaid's just a throw-in in this. And if I'm getting Brock Bowers at value for 2 firsts, I'm smashing that every day, all day.
All right. Teixeira says, not blinking, Mike. Same question coming to you. 1.5 tight end premium, which is a nice tight end premium, right? That's kind of where it starts when you're talking nice tight end premium. You have a contending roster. You might just need to get over the top with an elite tight end. Would you trade away a 2027 mid projected first, a 2027 late projected first, and Dalton Kincaid for Brock Bowers if you were hunting for that top-end tight end, Mike, to put you over the top on a contending roster?
So what's that movie with Sandra Bullock? The blindfolds. It's called Bird Box, right? We call it. We bird box the accept button. We don't think twice about it. I'm taking Brock Bowers. So that's how I look at this. It's the tight end premium 1.5. The guy's gonna get peppered with targets, right? We talked about this roster. This roster has no wide receiver to name other than Trey Tucker and like. The Beach or whatever, the guy from last year, like this guy might get 180 to 200 targets, and that's not an exaggeration because they're going to be behind in a lot of games. Kirk Cousins, to his credit, when he starts the season, he's going to pepper him with targets. Better offensive line, so they're going to have some time. He was the only tight end in the last 3 years to get 20 plus fantasy points and PPR scoring. He's a monster. Like if it wasn't for Colston Loveland and my plant flag, this would be the guy I would say be the tight end 1. But I have to stick with my guy. This is the alpha of the alphas, and if I'm a contending roster and this is what it takes to get there. Teixeira's right. Kincaid is a throw in. Those other 2 picks, I'm not even too worried about if I'm ready to win right now.
You know what I love? Mike's going to be making his own theme park down there in Washington called Love Land, right? And whenever it happens, he's going to take Teixeira there free of mission. That's what he's thinking about right now. But let me just say, though, I agree with you guys. And you see, though, that's why I love doing these trades for the DNA Strand crew, right? Because, like, maybe you're out there in a league like this and you're like, okay, what's equal value? What's equivalent? This trade works out equally on the Dynasty DNA calculator, right? So, like, you can get that done. And let me just say this, right? Like Dalton Kincaid, don't let that hold you back, right? No regrets, right? No regrets. Trade that and go out and get Brock Bowers, and you'll be a happy person. As Mike said, you look at it, right? I think the targets are going to be heavy there. And we know Clint Kubiak, our old friend, is now coaching the Raiders. And I know Big Culture Bob's not a big fan of those silver and black boys, but I will say, with Kubiak at the helm, I think things will slowly start getting better. And Bowers is that alpha type target guy. As long as he's healthy, it's definite top 2. It's definite top 2 as long as he's healthy, right? So we'll see how that pans out. But let's go over here now to the next trade question, Mike, starting with you on this one. And you got a contending team here, Mike, looking to add another tight end to your room to give you another option for depth and upside. This is a non-tight end premium league, just a regular Superflex league. Would you trade a late 2027 projected second for Chig Okonkwo on that team down there that you know very well, the Washington Commanders? So would you keep that late second in a non-tight end premium regular Superflex league, Mike, or would you take Chig Okonkwo?
No, I'd take Chig. I think Chig is one of those way better lottery tickets in this offense, right? Jaden Daniels is super healthy right now. I've been hearing reports that he's finally back to his old self. He took the time to finally rehab, get that elbow back. Terry McLaurin is healthy, which helps this offense a lot too. Look, the biggest question this offseason, who is the second target in this offense. And I think the offense is going to be Chig, because I feel like Chig followed the money, like I always said, got paid the decent amount of money you bring in a tight end. They sought after this guy. They wanted this guy to be part of his offense. Ben Sennett hasn't done much. I mean, we know Zach Ertz is, if he comes back, he's going to be nothing but a veteran presence. That's about it. I think Chig has the ability to get over the hump and be one of those tight ends we can rely on in those later rounds. I don't think I can find a tight end like Chig, even in a deep class of 2027. Whether it's my hometown of Washington or not, I just feel the buzz about Chig and how he can move in this offense, where they want to put him in the tight end position, whether they want to move him in the slot. He can do X routes. He can do all these different things where I feel like they were missing in this offense, and they love using the tight end in this offense too. Whether it's David Blau, whether it was Cliff, I think he's going to be the next guy up.
All right, so Mike says no problem for him to share. Coming over here to you. Same question, non-tight end premium, contending team, looking to add tight end depth, right? Maybe an upside type of guy into your team, just a regular super flex league. You're trading away a late 27 second projected for Chigoziem Okonkwo there in Washington. What's the move? Why are you making it?
The move is I'm taking Okonkwo to put into my tight end room to round that out to make my push for a championship and some hardware this year. And I'll just, with the 2020, the late second, depending on how, I mean, if that's what my team needs next year, like what Mike was saying, I'd rather taking Okonkwo than trying to find a tight end in next year's draft. And I think what puts it really over the edge, and you kind of touched on it, is that no matter what, Washington has always featured the tight end on that team, and they've either had a second resurgence in their career there, or they've had a good just long-term value for us in Dynasty for many, many years. My upside for Chig is that he finishes at a top 10 tight end in Dynasty for us, and he's known to be a pass-catching tight end with some good blocking chops. So with a healthy Jayden Daniels back, if he's smart, he's going to get peppered with targets, and these wide receivers are going to get, obviously, their side of the pie. And Rachaad White, respectively, is going to get his piece of the pie. But there's just still enough left over with Chig in that offense that it's going to weigh itself more in value having him on your roster than banking on the lottery ticket of that pick next year in the draft.
All right, I like it. And you know what, man? We're getting chiggy with it because I agree with you guys wholeheartedly. You know how I feel about this man in this Washington offense. You know, Bob always makes fun of my nicknames. Here's a nickname for Chig, right? And I even misspelled this whenever I sent out the show sheet. And now it just got my brain, my gears are rolling. Charizardo Okonkwo, because that man's going to be breathing fire whenever he puts up those big points this year. Give Charizardo Okonkwo that second. You will be happy in return. Look, I think at worst you're getting a guy that's going to be a high-end tight end too. We talk about it. Washington really features this offense. Where are they going to go with the ball, right? Like, they really don't have many options. And the guy is an athlete. You can say what you want about Chig. That guy is a sneaky good athlete, and he's a Maryland Terp, man. Them guys, I'm telling you, sneaky athletes go to Maryland. I think Mike can attest to that. But let's go over here now to the next one on the list, Tessier. And now we're going to flip the script a little bit because you are a rebuilding team here. You're a rebuilding team looking to get the most you can out of a higher tight end in a tight end premium league. Again, this is 1.5 tight end premium Tessier. Rebuilder. You're trading away Tyler Warren, and I know that crushes your soul. But you will be getting back a 2027 first projected in the middle part of the first round, a 2027 mid-second projected, and Darnell Washington, that tight end from the Steelers, just as a throw-in. What are you doing here, Tessier? Is it enough to make you move off Tyler Warren in a rebuild situation in 1.5 tight end premium, or are you going to hold your guns and see what happens with Tyler Warren?
You know, the Bowers one, I didn't blink, but this one, I'm kind of staring at the button a little bit longer. I'm like, you threw in Mount Washington to play with my soul a little bit, but
I didn't do that on purpose or anything.
Oh, man, you know how much I love Darnell. That being said, though, even as a rebuilder, I think I am going to hold on to Tyler Warren and keep the alpha there. Man. I gotta just stick with Tyler Warren. As much, I really need to know what I'm doing with those picks and where I'm going with my roster by the end of the year to make it more juicy. But with the two unknowns of where my roster construction is going, like, do I need wide receiver help? Do I need running back help? Do I need a third quarterback? What am I looking to build? And then having Darnell Washington there, where if he was the only tight end in town, I would be more inclined to do so, but Freiermuth is still a problem, and you've been whispering about him playing on the offensive line a little bit, which scares my production as much as I'd like him to be the featured pass catcher in an offense that now has Michael Pittman and Rico Dowdle in there. It's a lot of the pie again to get him like relatively production-wise. I think he can still finish as a solid tight end at some point if he were to get the full, workload, but I need a little bit more to get off of Tyler Warren. If that second was a late first, I would probably hit the button. But the second and Darnell, it's not enough.
Okay. So let me just say this, right? Another trade that come out even. Like, I make these close for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I tend to agree with you a little bit, Tessier. I'll get into my answer here in a minute on the way I'd approach it. But Mike, same question coming over here to you. Rebuilding team, 1.5 tight end premium, right? You're looking to get some depth, some pieces. Would you be trading away Tyler Warren? Would a 27 mid-first projected, 27 mid-second projected, and Darnell Washington be enough to make you move off Tyler Warren, or would you need more as well?
No, I think I would need more. I think if I'm a rebuilding team, I'm going to look at the young pieces that I need to keep my core, and I feel like with Tyler Warren, he fits the bill of that. I feel like in a tight end premium, he's going to be a guy that's going to keep ascending. I don't think he's going to be descending at any point. I feel like whatever quarterback that is in Indianapolis or coach, they're going to focus on him the most, right? I feel like the trading away of Michael Pittman and extending Alec Pierce has told me a lot of what they want Tyler Warren to be in this offense, which is the chain-moving guy, the guy that they look for those easy 10 yards or 12 yards instead of the bomb shot, right? So if the mid-first was an early first and the second was a late second or a late first, I would probably be like, okay, maybe I'll do it. But I think it being a mid-first and a second, I can't see as a rebuilder how that would help my team over having a guy like Warren who's going to continue on being a good, solid tight end for my team.
Right, and the age is on his side as well, right?
Correct.
I mean, we know that. But let me just say this. Look, I agree with you guys. Like, if it was 2 firsts, right? Like, Darnell Washington, like, I know Tessier likes Darnell Washington. If someone's willing to bump it to 2 firsts, they won't mind giving up Darnell Washington either, right? So, like, that's where I'm at. Like, I couldn't do the second, but if it was 2 firsts, I still think you could get, like, in Tessier's shoes, like, if he wanted Darnell Washington, he could get him, right? Like, I like Oscar Delp, me and Bob, as, like, a long shot, guy with the Saints. Like, if I could get 2 firsts and Oscar Delp, for Tyler Warren, then maybe I would do that, right? So, like, that's kind of how I'd approach it. I just think them lower-end guys wouldn't be enough to stop the deal. I think what would stop the deal is as long as someone's willing to do the first opposed to the second, that's where you're going to make your money, right? That's where it's got to be. You got to get those 2 first-round picks. I agree with Mike and Tessier on that. Last one here on the list here, Mike, starting with you. Okay, this one's a little interesting, right? You're a middle-of-the-road dynasty roster. Okay, you want to shake things up a bit in your team and on your roster, and this is a tight end, 1.5 premium league as well. You'd be trading away Kyle Pitts, and you'd be trading away a 2027 projected mid-second for Harold Fannin and Jaden Higgins of the Houston Texans.
Wow.
What's your thoughts here? Because, look, this is kind of interesting if you're looking to make a shake-up trade right in the middle of the pack. What side do you like and why, Mike, as far as middle-of-the-road teams and rosters?
I think for me, if I'm looking to be middle of the road, right, I'm usually looking to ascend up. I'm not going back and up. I think we can make some moves to get us to the next level. And I think I would go with the Fannin and Higgins side, where I'm throwing the dice, right? I'm throwing in dice on a guy like Higgins who can be the second wide receiver in Houston. But because it's a tight end show, I'm going to keep it with Fannin. I feel like what we talked about when we were ranking those tight ends going into the sophomore season, we all three said Fannin has the ability to outplay the horrible quarterback play that he might have to face this time around, next year, the year after that. I feel like this is a red zone guy. This is a guy that I can trust more than Kyle Pitts. And for me, Teixeira always says, don't let a second be in the way of something good, right? So, like, let that second be there, and I'll be like, okay, if you want the second, here. And then Kyle Pitts, I don't have to worry about anymore, and I can just lean on Harold Fannin, who I love and I believe in, even in a horrible offense, who's going to be down a lot of points. We didn't mention that. They're going to be
right.
down a lot, and they're going to throw the ball a lot. And I feel like Jerry Jeudy has never been a thing, and Bond hasn't been a thing. Sure, they have Concepcion and Isaiah and all those guys, but, like, I want Harold Fannin is going to be the main guy, and that's who I want. I want the main guy in a horrible offense, and this is the guy.
And not to mention resetting the clock just a little bit, right? I mean,
right.
Like, that's never a bad thing with the age as well. All right, Teixeira, interesting middle-of-the-road team looking to shake it up. 1.5, tight end premium. You're trading away Kyle Pitts, a mid-2027 projected second for Harold Fannin Jr. and Jaden Higgins. What's your outlook on this trade?
My outlook is like, well, I think the trade getting Harold Fannin Jr. and Jaden Higgins is going to be the solution versus constantly taking the Pepto and Tums or the headache medicine and having Pitts on my roster. And he's probably the reason why I'm at a middle-of-the-road team, because of his lack of consistency in the high-ceiling games. And he's put me in this position to begin with, so it makes it a little bit more easier of a pill to swallow moving off of him. And that second, I think that'll get me over the edge where I probably moves a little bit further down to mid to late than early to mid. And I just believe that this year in 2026 and beyond, that Harold Fannin Jr. can have more consistent finishes above him in Dynasty and in the NFL at the tight end position. And I was really bullish coming out of that draft class on Jaden Higgins. I really like what he can do. I'm not so afraid of Noel and the Tank Dell comeback. And, you know, Nico's going through his things. He's just got that build in a wide receiver that I like. He's got that nose for the end zone that I like. It's just a matter of him, like with all these guys in this trade deal, getting the competency at the quarterback position to get him the ball enough to showcase that ability. And I think this is a higher upside of the trade, and I want that if I'm trying to get over the edge and climb the ladder to get from middling to contending. And I like the Higgins and Fannin both to get that over holding a Pitts in a second.
So let me say this to Sherry. You said Pepto-Bismol and all these things, right? It's like a laxative. It's called the shits with Pitts, right? That's what it comes down to. We got to take our laxative sometimes. And look, I mean, when you have the Tampa Bay week, luckily you get a break from that. But you only get that 2 times a year. But look, I look at it like this. As far as a middle-of-the-road team looking to shake it up, this Harold Fannin trade with Jaden Higgins is perfect, right? I'm like Mike. Like, if you get lucky and throw the dice, you're going to go up, right? You're going to go up, and it's going to be great. But look, even if it's a year or two away and it don't work out, you're going to go down. Like, we talk all the time. You don't want to be caught in the middle. With Kyle Pitts in a second, where are you going to be? Probably right in the middle, right? So, like, if you're in the middle and you're looking at a trade like this, give me the dice throw because, look, if it comes up, all aces, and you're going to the top of your league, that's great. If it doesn't, you're going down. Your draft pick's going to be higher, and you still got, I think, the better end of the package long term. I really do. So that's the case I would make for a middle-of-the-road roster. But we have a winner. The winner of today's episode is Teixeira with the terrible towel, because I think Mike could even say he deserves it after getting that towel for his studio. He's got it on camera again. Teixeira, a well-done job, my friend. But I will say this, Mike brought the heat tonight. You know, I think Ty not here. You know, Ty wants to talk about headaches, being on different shows with people. It's a little more peaceful, right? We didn't get to hear about, well, what about this? What about that? That's right, because he's not here. The sore throat, biological warfare, he wasn't able to be here. But Teixeira, you get a minute to go ahead and talk about whatever you want, my friend. Go ahead.
All right, everybody. I'm here to talk about who's all excited for the Hall of Fame game coming up here. Cardinals and Panthers. This is going to be a good one, and it's the last Sunday without football that we just witnessed, and now every day we're getting our favorite game back. and you're looking for content to tune into to get your dynasty teams ready, get your fantasy rosters going, check us out on TikTok, Facebook, X, all those places. TJ will get into it later, but really we enjoy helping you guys out and getting that message out there because it's a game we all love to do is fantasy football. We're a huge growing community, and we look forward to helping you as the season comes along. And let's enjoy the ride of this preseason, watch the games, watch the players, keep up to date in the news. And, let's hope with your dynasty rosters you take a strong, hard look at these tight ends that we talked about tonight. Consider starting them in your flex position over one of these wide receiver 4 or 5s or dart throws, because that could be the difference between you winning a championship and you being our middle road team or looking to rebuild in 2027. So consider starting a tight end in that flex, using one of these guys we talked about, and dominating your leagues.
I love it, Teixeira. And let me just say this right. I'll say it for you, Teixeira. Touchdowns, tight ends, and Taco Bell. Don't ever forget that, right? I mean, there's a lot of good things when it comes to these guys. And I'll say this, right? They call soccer the beautiful game, right? Like fantasy football, right? Like I got that on Twitter. The one guy said that, and I'm like, you know what? It is the game we all wait to play, and it's getting closer to being back. Can't wait for that first game of the season. But listen, what a great episode, guys. Appreciate your time, your outlook. You always do such a good job breaking this stuff down, and I love it. If you are enjoying the content on Spotify, Apple Pod, Stitcher, Amazon, and you're liking all this, follow and 5-star the show if you haven't, guys. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you. Check out Dynasty DNA on YouTube. Subscribe to Dynasty DNA on YouTube. Check out all the social pages, right? Mike's building the Dynasty DNA Instagram to share with the Facebook. Dynasty DNA Network over on Facebook. Check that out. I mean, TikTok, as Teixeira mentioned. We got the TikTok going. You want to see Big Culture Bob do a TikTok dance, you can potentially over there. We'll make it happen. So, guys, appreciate your support. Listen, I know I speak for Mike, Teixeira, Ty, who isn't here when we say, hope you guys have a great week ahead of you, and it goes well. We'll see you all on the next episode of From Whistle to Whistle.